Application of power in the Cirrus. Cirrus recommends idle to full power in 3 to 4 seconds. Most people step it. You want to do a nice, smooth, continuous application of power, no delays, and it's best to get that power in there. No cast messages. Little back pressure, allowing the airplane to fly off naturally. 7 degrees nose high. Flaps up at 90. Autopilot's authorized to be engaged at 400 feet AGL. The auto damper comes on automatically at 200 feet. We're assigned runway heading, so we're going to command the...
6 Tango Whiskey, runway heading 2000, Jacksonville, 118.6.
18.6, good morning, 6 Tango Whiskey. Remember, when your autopilot's off, flight director on, right? Do something with your left hand to control the autopilot controller. Allow the flight director to move, CAPS is available. And then, with your left hand, right, fly the airplane to center the flight director.
November 6500, level 5000, direct destination.
From 6500 Jack Sprecho, altimeter 3009, advises Bravo, expect ILS 36.
6500, we have Bravo.
Jacksonville departure, Cirrus 826 Tango Whiskey, 1200, climbing 2000.
November 826 Tango Whiskey, Jack, ident, maintain 4000.
6 Tango Whiskey, 4000 with a flash.
November 6 Tango Whiskey, radar contact 1 mile north of Ocala. Turn right heading 050, quick vector, and then we'll get you direct SSI here in a little bit.
Heading 050, expect the SSI, 6 Tango Whiskey. All right. First things first, the code word with a flash. It's from the pilot to controller glossary. It means I'm identing. Everything's under control. We're going to select the climb check. Climb power is being set. The Cirrus climb power is throttle full forward, and we manage engine power by leaning. And with the Generation 6 Perspective Plus or the Gen 7, what we're doing is we're leaning to put the white actual fuel flow on the top of the green target.
And 6500 bases are now 400 and tops are what?
800.
Pump is on.
650, thank you. And I've got the ILS plugged in for vectors.
6500, roger. Expect that, sir.
As I climb, about every 1,000 feet, my eyes come back to my fuel flow and my fuel flow targets. And again, about every 1,000 feet, I will adjust the actual fuel flow to lean the engine during the climb because Garmin Perspective and Perspective Plus with the technology, the ADCs are able to calculate the actual density altitude, producing the exact fuel flow our engine should be based on the environmental conditions. Changes every day. Regarding my CHTs during the climb, what I care about, I really like them below 400 degrees. The limit in the POH is my ultimate guide. Personally, if I see 400 degrees while I'm at climb power, I would increase my airspeed initially to 125 to 130 knots. And if it's not bringing down my CHT temperatures, that's when I would reselect mixture rich to sacrifice a little bit of engine performance so we have excess fuel to remove extra heat from my cylinders.
Cirrus 804 Charlie Delta, Jack.
Technique, ATC told me to expect SSI off of a vector, so I'm selecting direct SSI. Just as a reminder, that's where I would go if I lost both of my radios. today we filed 5,000 feet. This part of Florida, Jacksonville Center, tends to put us at altitudes that are opposite what are in the publications. They actually have a letter of agreement to do that. So with respect to the management of the normally aspirated SR-22 IO 550, when I cruise at or below 6,500 feet, my initial power reduction is to set 70% power on my engine. Because my goal, right, while running at best economy, is after the leaning procedure, is to have my power right at 65%.
Pittsburgh Jet 94, turn 10 left, vector down.
Okay, 10 to the left for Pittsburgh.
One of the additions with software version N4 and later is the segmented green, which appears at 76% power or less. The very top of the top green segment is if you were wanting to run at 85% or less, which would be full power. The bottom of the top green is the indication is the proper fuel flow for best power, which is limited to 75% power or less. Today, we choose to run at best economy, so the next step after my initial power reduction will be to turn off my boost pump. As long as my engine is running smooth, it's going to stay off. And then I'm going to lean to place the fuel flow on top of the bottom green segment.
Remember, 330 Tango Alpha, the Ocala altimeter is 3011, reset transponder.
When I get close, I'm going to select the engine, and I'm going to look at the actual fuel flow, because I can get a lot more precise.
205 Kilo Quebec Jack.
And I'm putting the pointer on the top of the bottom green segment. And if we used lean assist, you would find that right now we're almost perfectly at 50 degrees lean of peak, which is the limitation to run best economy.
330 Tango off Jack's radar contact.
Notice that when I finished the leaning process, the power naturally reduced to 65%. That occurred because we went through peak operation, and remember, when we operate lean of peak, there's actually a very large power drop for small decreases.
Number 6 Tango Whiskey, clear direct Brunswick VOR.
6 Tango Whiskey, direct Brunswick VOR. So air traffic control just cleared me direct, so I'm going to update my direct. Put the airplane into nav. They haven't cleared me to climb, so I'm set up for my initial cruise on our trip up to Charleston Air Force Base. We've just leveled off at 4,000 feet, our cruising altitude, and today we are choosing to operate our aircraft at best power as opposed to best economy. Remember, best power is limited to 75% power or less at 75 degrees rich of peak. So my initial throttle reduction will be to 75% power. My next step is I'm going to turn my boost pump off and test to make sure the engine runs smooth. And as long as it runs smooth, my pump will stay off. The next step is I'm going to lean my fuel flow and place the actual fuel flow pointer at the bottom of the top green segment. Remember, at 76% power or less, Garmin Perspective Plus gives us the segmented green, which
6 Tango Whiskey, contact Jack's approach, 124 point. Actually, he probably won't hear it at 24.9 yet. Just stay with me a little longer.
6 Tango Whiskey. Picking back up where we were talking, remember the segmented greens, the top would represent where we would want the fuel flow if we chose to run at 85% power. The bottom of the top green is where we lean for best power, which is 75% power or less at 75 degrees rich of peak. And then the bottom of the top green is where we lean if we choose to run best economy. For the POH, best economy is limited to 65% power at 50 degrees lean of peak. But in this case today, we are choosing to run best power. If you experiment with true airspeeds
5 miles, just turn southbound. Altitude indicates 4,100.
between best power and best economy in the normally aspirated SR-22 at altitudes at or below about 12,000 feet, you will find that what ends up happening is it's about an 8 to 10 knot true airspeed difference, or approximately 5 to 6 gallons per hour additional fuel flow. And for the typical flight that we fly 300 to 500 miles in the SR-22, that's about a 5-minute difference time of flight. So we as pilots need to balance time versus how much money we're spending on fuel.